Hello students, welcome to BioBin channel. So now we are going to discuss in this video about double fertilization. So after the pollen tube which enters and reaches one of the synergids, it releases two male gametes in the cytoplasm of the synergid, and one of them fuses with the egg cell. So this will fuse with the egg cell. And after fusion with the egg cell, it forms zygote. And the second male gamete which is released, now it reaches to the central cell and fuses with the secondary nucleus. And finally, there will be the formation of endosperm. Here there are two fertilizations. One male gamete fuses with the egg cell to form zygote. The other male gamete fuses with the central cell which is having two secondary nucleus to form endosperm, and the cell is called as primary endosperm cell, and the endosperm which is formed is called as primary endosperm nucleus. So here, as there are two fusions, this fertilization is called double fertilization, and as there are three fusions in the center, one of the male gamete and the two secondary nucleus, three fusions, it is called as triple fusion. So double fertilization and triple fusion is the unique feature of the flowering plants. So the flowering plants have double fertilization and triple fusion. So here fertilization, that is syngamy by the one of the male nucleus with the egg cell, and the other one is triple fusion. So these two, triple fusion and double fertilization, are the important features of angiosperms. So now we will discuss more about this after fertilization, that is post fertilization changes, how the endosperm is formed and how the embryo is formed. Post fertilization structure and events. So what are the post fertilization structures and events? Following double fertilization, after double fertilization, all the events like endosperm development, embryo development, as well as maturation of the ovules into seeds and then ovary into fruit are collectively called as post fertilization events. Let us discuss one by one. First one is endosperm. So endosperm development always precedes the embryo development. So because here the primary endosperm cell has to develop food first, and then it has to supply to the developing zygote so that it can develop into embryo. So always there will be first development of endosperm and then there will be development of embryo. Let us understand more about how this endosperm is developed. So the primary endosperm cell, which is present in the center, divides repeatedly to form a triploid endosperm tissue, and the cells of this tissue are filled with reserve food materials, and these are used for the developing embryo. And now the most important type of common endosperm development is that the pen is primary endosperm nucleus, undergoes successive nuclear divisions to give rise to free nuclei. This stage where endosperm development by only dividing of the nucleus is called as free nuclear endosperm. Free nuclear endosperm. There will be only nuclear divisions at the first. Later, as subsequently endosperm starts developing, the cell wall is laid in between the endosperm nucleus, and this free nuclear endosperm becomes cellular endosperm. And the number of free nuclei formed before cellularization varies greatly from one plant to other plant. Let's take the example of coconut. The tender coconut which you bring from the market is nothing but the water which it contains is a free nuclear endosperm with thousands of nuclei, and the surrounding white kernel is nothing but it is a cellular endosperm. So now endosperm may be either completely used by the embryo, developing embryo. Like example, you can take pea, groundnut as well as beans. Pea, groundnut and beans. You can find the embryo utilizes the endosperm completely, and sometimes the endosperm may be present in the mature seed, like example castor and coconut. Castor and coconut. Here the endosperm is present in the seed, and here it is completely utilized. And such type of endosperm where it is completely used and persist, we call them as completely used is known as non-endospermic seeds. And when there is persistence of endosperm in the seeds, it is called as endospermic seeds. And we also call these non-endospermic seeds as X-albuminous seeds and endospermic seeds as albuminous seeds. So now post-fertilization structure and events. So after fertilization, as we discussed earlier, the antipodals start degenerating, synergids start degenerating, and slowly the zygote develops into embryo, and then the primary endosperm nucleus develops into endosperm. And these are all post-fertilization structures. Always the development of endosperm precedes the development of embryo. And now this embryo develops at the micropylar end. You can see here, this is the micropylar end and this is chalazal end. The micropylar end has zygotes, so here this zygote becomes embryo. Most of the zygotes start dividing only after some endosperm is formed, so that they get sufficient food for their developing embryo. Though the seeds may vary like dicot and monocots, but still the embryogeny, that is the development of embryo, is common in both monocots and dicots. And most of the dicots embryogeny includes the stages where the zygote gives rise to proembryo, and the proembryo becomes globular embryo, and finally heart-shaped embryo, and then at the end it produces a mature embryo which has two cotyledons and a radicle. And you can see here there is a suspensor which gets elongated and then reaches the endosperm for the nutrition for the developing embryo. Now we study about two types of embryo: dicot embryo, monocot embryo. The dicot embryo consists of the embryonal axis and the two cotyledons. The part above the embryonal axis is called as epicotyle, and the part below the embryonal axis is called as hypocotyle, which terminates into radicle and then root cap. The root tip is covered by root cap. Now we come to the monocot embryo. The embryos of the monocots possess only one cotyledon, and the dicot has two cotyledons. And in the grass family, the cotyledon is called scutellum. Scutellum is a shield-shaped structure which is present one side of the embryonal axis. Here also you can find the part above the embryonal axis is called as epicotyle, and the part below the embryonal axis is called as hypocotyle. And this epicotyle consists of coleoptile, shoot apex, and the hypocotyle consists of radicle as well as a root cap, and there is a layer called coleorhiza. Seed is the fertilized ovule, So we know that after fertilization, zygote is formed, and that zygote develops into seed, where it has embryo. Actually, these seeds are produced inside the fruits, and the seed contains covering called seed coat, and it has cotyledons, either one or two, which are fleshy and swollen due to the reserve food material, and they have an embryonal axis where the two cotyledons are attached. So the seeds are classified into mainly two types, depend upon the presence or the absence of endosperm. So whenever there is persistent endosperm seen in the seed, it's called albuminous seeds, where the embryo do not use completely the endosperm. Example, wheat, maize, barley, castor and sunflower. And if you observe in pea and groundnut, so here the endosperm is completely utilized by the developing embryo, and that seeds are called as non-albuminous seeds. And when you observe in black pepper and beet, you can find some residue or remnants of nucellus in the seed, and that is called as perisperm. And the seed also has seed coat, which is made up of integuments. There are two seed coats, the outer integument and inner integuments. So outer seed coat, testa, and inner seed coat called tegmen. And there is a small pore present inside the seed. That is nothing but it is a micropyle, the opening of the ovule, where there is oxygen entering inside, which helps for the breathing of the embryo, which is present inside the seed. And also it helps in retaining the moisture content inside the seed, and the moisture is reduced to 10 to 15% by mass, so that the embryo is active and it enters a state of inactivity called dormancy, and this helps the embryo to be inside alive, so that when favorable conditions return, sufficient amount of moisture, water is available, then the seed germinates into a new plant. And now we come to fruit. The fruit is matured ovary. After the fertilization, the ovary matures and develops into fruit, and the fruit covering is called as pericarp. It's developed by ovary wall, and the fruits may be classified into fleshy fruits and dry fruits, depend upon the pericarp is fleshy or dry. If it is fleshy fruit, then we have the examples of guava, orange, mango, where the pericarp is fleshy, and in the dry fruits the pericarp is dry. Example, groundnut and mustard. The fruit is also classified based on whether the ovary develops into fruit or not. So if the ovary develops into fruit, then it's called as true fruits. Majority of the plants have true fruits, and there are some plants like apple, strawberry and cashew, where the fruits do not develop from ovary, they develop from thalamus. So such type of fruits are called as false fruits. So we know that fruit is developed after the fertilization, but in some cases like banana, the fruit is developed without fertilization. Such type of fruits are called as parthenocarpic fruits. What are the advantage of the seeds? Firstly, we come that the reproductive process such as pollination, fertilization, they are all independent of water, but the seed formation is more dependable on water. Also, seeds have better adaptation for their dispersal to new habitats and help the species to grow from one place to other place. And as they have sufficient food reserve, the young seedlings are nourished until they are able to photosynthesize themselves, and the hard seed coat always provides protection for the young embryo. And as these are the products of fertilization, that is sexual reproduction, they generate a new genetic combinations leading to variations. So these are some of the advantages of seeds. So seeds are the basis of our agriculture. So dehydration and dormancy of the mature seeds plays an important role in storage of seeds that can be used for further purpose as a food as well as raising them for the next generation. Viability of the seeds. So how much time the seeds are alive when they are dispersed from one place to other place. So there are some of the species which are alive, seeds are alive for hundreds of years. We have Lupinus arcticus, which is taken from Arctic tundra. So the seed which is taken from there has a record of 10,000 years of dormancy. Then a recent record like Phoenix dactylifera has 2000 years old record of the date palm, which is excavated from the King Herod's palace, that is from the Dead Sea. Apomixis. Here in some species of Asteraceae and grasses, they have evolved a special mechanism to produce seeds. So the seeds which are produced without fertilization are called as apomixis. So here this is a form of asexual reproduction that mimics sexual reproduction, because here seeds are the product of fertilization. Actually here there is no fertilization, but still the plants of these has a capacity to produce seeds, and so it is called as apomixis. Polyembryony. In the plants like citrus and mango, you can find the cells which are present in the nucellus of the embryo sac start dividing and protruding into the embryo sac, and they develop into embryo. And this type of embryo development is called as polyembryony, because there is occurrence of more than one embryo in the seed, and so it's called as polyembryony. And we have examples of citrus and mango. This is all about sexual reproduction in flowering plants. If you have any doubts, please ask in the comment box. Please like our video, share it to all so that everyone can get the knowledge of this one, and then please subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.